All right. Hello. Hello. Good evening. Good afternoon, whenever you are watching this. My name is Christine. I'm here from the Healing Soul School, and I have a special guest today, Shani, from across the pond in the UK. Shani, I met a few months ago in a Facebook group about Get Up and Rise, and she was talking about how to heal the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine, and it really spoke to my heart. And I loved her fire and her pizzazz, and I've been following her, going on moon ceremonies, and we've just stayed connected. And we decided to come live today with you today and talk about really the wild woman, and really expressing that within all of us, men and women, because we both have it. So welcome, Shani, if you'd like to talk a little bit about who you are, and then let's get started.
Sure, yay! It's so wonderful to be back in a session with you. I remember the first time we did it; it was like way back in the end of last year,
Yeah.
and it's really beautiful to be back here with you and see your face again from across the pond. It's the evening in the UK, and you are obviously in your daytime, so I'm a bit jealous that you've got the whole day ahead of you. So my name is Shani. And as Christine said, I'm based in the UK. I'm a rebirthing breathwork facilitator, use conscious connected breathing to really support women to awaken into their divine feminine from a place of safety. And my life's mission is really to support women to awaken into their feminine essence, to move away from this wounded masculine energy. And I'll talk a bit about what that means later on. Away from the wounded masculine energy and into an awoken state of, integration between the feminine and the masculine together in harmony, to really support them on their life's purpose, their life's mission, and their journey. And like Christine says, I run women's circles twice a month for the full moon and the new moon. So new moon blessings, because tonight is the new moon. We just had our circle on Sunday. But it's a beautiful space for women to really be seen and heard and witnessed and share whatever is in their heart, and to tap into themselves and come back to a place of intuition, which is part of awakening of your divine feminine. So yeah, I'm here tonight to talk about the wild woman, who is one of the divine feminine archetypes that I've certainly been awakening within myself over the course of my healing journey, and feeling very connected to and supporting other women to liberate and awaken their wild woman archetype too. So that's what we're going to be really talking about this evening.
Awesome.
And tapping into,
Yeah, so exciting. So tell us, who is the wild woman? And you said the archetype, so it's one of the archetypes. I don't know, do you want to quickly share what the archetypes are? And then I also have a question, can men have this wild woman in them as well as one of the archetypes?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are many feminine archetypes, as you know. I won't go through them all because that's a whole other live in itself. But but we are certainly, as we are what we like to call awakening, or as we start to kind of open our eyes to connect to something that is higher than ourselves, that starts to give us a sense that we are no longer living in resonance with the life that we once were living, or living a version of ourselves that we once were living or conditioned to live. We start to open up into what we call the sacred feminine, or the divine feminine, or the feminine energy within us. And that applies to both men and women, that we were always innately given as our birthright. It was just the conditioning and the programming that was placed upon us, kind of as I see it, as like templates that was placed upon us, that prevented us from living in our pure innocence, in our pure essence, the essence that was given to us as our birthright. And so we have many different archetypes of the divine feminine, but one of them is this wild woman archetype. We have the wise woman, the maiden, the mother, the crone. We have so many different archetypes connected to divine feminine essence. But tonight we're really focused on this concept of the wild woman, and who she is, and where she lives in you, and why she wants to liberate you, and why she is your liberation as well.
Right. Okay, very good, amazing. Do you want to share all of the things that, well, I think the one thing that just stands out for me is, the wild woman has been shunned, or we've been pushed down, or that part of us has been pushed down. Do you want to talk about that piece of it, or the how to waken her up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, just explain a little bit who the wild woman is. So to me, the wild woman is like your primal essence, right? Like when I say the word wild, like it conjures up, you know, for you, this idea of like primal, like very, very raw. Like when we think of wild, we think of free, we think of the horses running in the fields, we think of our hair flowing in the wind. We see, like, I don't know, a young girl like running with her hair out and her dress flapping, and she's just, you know, free in her body, right? Like that's the kind of image that comes up really for many people when we say wild. And you know, we look at wild flowers or wild nature, it's very untamed, right? Like it's not been manicured, it's not been, you know, curated in any way. It's just free to be what it is and who it is.
Yeah.
And so it's very much your primal essence. So I like to think of the wild woman as like the young girl inside of you that had her innocence and followed her highest excitement. So, you know, like the young girl that, you know, would spend ages playing with whatever it was she loved to play with. For me, it was like I used to love lining up all my teddy bears and play teachers, and I would like let my imagination run wild, and there was just no expectation of where it was going and what it was doing. I just was following my highest excitement. Or if you see like young kids, they follow their highest excitement. Like they do something and then they get distracted because something else is more exciting for them, and they follow it. They don't think about it.
Right.
They keep following their highest excitement. And this for me is like the primal essence of how we are supposed to live our life, like to follow our highest excitement at all times. And yeah, of course we have things that we need to do, you know, domesticated, but with that term domesticated, like that kind of untamed wild side of us has been dampened down and curated and kind of manicured a bit like the wildflowers in a field. And as we start to kind of, you know, we start to go into institutions and systems like schools, and perhaps it's cultural, perhaps it's religious, perhaps it's, you know, within the family system or the family unit, that wildness starts to get tamed. And we have what I like to call the good girl conditioning.
Right.
So the good girl is like the girl that wants to please or wants to seek love and validation. And the only way that she knows how to do it is by doing a certain thing. So it could be that she seeks or, you know, believes that she receives that love and that validation by overachieving. It could be that she's a perfectionist because she believes that if she just does it perfectly, she will be loved, or she shuts down part of herself or her voice or, you know, her wildness in order to fit in with the crowd, or to, you know, to fit in with the good girl, well done kind of rhetoric. And of course, then like our pleasure and our highest excitement becomes conditional, right? You hear it like, you know, you can go out and play when you've done your homework. You can have dessert when you've eaten your dinner. You can go to the park if you behave. Like it's always conditional on something.
Right.
And from that place, so many of us, and I think this particularly pertains to women, although it definitely pertains to men too, we shrink, like we put parts of ourselves down into our shadow self, and we get tamed because we learn that is what other people want from us. And if we want other people to like us or love us or give us validation, then surely we have to do what they expect of us. This is right. Forms. And so the wild woman gets tamed very, very, very early on. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Be quiet, sit there, you know, even with emotions, don't express emotions, because then it's hard for that caretaker adult, right? It's be quiet, be the good girl. Yeah, so true. We totally get shut down. And then for, you know, even with myself, that fear of being seen starts to happen. And yeah, we got to heal that, bring her back.
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely, yeah. And I think it happens, you know, I've been having conversations with people recently, and, you know, I was speaking to a father of an 8-year-old child recently, and he was saying to me, like, because we were talking about conformity at school. I've been a teacher for many years, and you know, the education system is very much a system. And, he was saying to me, my 8-year-old doesn't really like wearing school shoes because she just doesn't like the heaviness, the clumpiness. She loves to wear her pink trainers. And he's like, I don't have an issue sending her to school with pink trainers, but the school has an issue with it. Like, if she's happy and it helps her to learn, why can't she just wear her pink trainers? And I was like, well, I agree with you. I mean, I get that schools have uniforms, but like, kids deserve to feel comfortable in their surroundings, in their space. And he was saying, well, this is where it starts. They're telling her she needs to look like everyone else. They're telling her she needs to dress like everyone else. She needs to be like everyone else. And then she has to conform. And then she loses that sense of like, hey, but that's not good for me. That doesn't feel right for me. I'm not comfortable wearing these. And so if she has to do that to fit in with the conformity of what's expected of her,
right,
that's like a little piece of her that's taken away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conditioning placed on her that later on, will come back in a cycle where she's like, oh, but maybe I can't wear what I want to wear because people will judge me and I should be like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so this is just like a recent example conversation I have with someone that just like, yeah, it's from a very young age that, in this case, it was the school saying it, not her parents saying it, but it's always going to come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. How can we focus on this daily, or what are some tips or tricks that we can do on a daily basis to move towards really just opening ourselves up and being safe to be seen, opening up that feminine within us?
Yeah, so I mean, the wild woman is like she's in you, like she's never left you. She's always been inside of you. Yeah, and so the wild woman, she is the one who like runs with the wolves. So she wants to be. She follows her intuition, she follows her higher self, and she follows her inner knowing. So when she's navigating the forest, like she doesn't do it out of fear, right? Like if you imagine that you are navigating a forest space, you might feel a little bit fearful, like what's around the corner? Is an animal going to attack me? What's going to happen? Like, is it going to get dark? Like, what's going to go on, right? And when we're operating from that place of fear, we're essentially, again, like constricting, and we're not allowing our possibilities to be open. But when we fully trust, like in our inner knowing, and follow that kind of internal navigation system, we can't get lost. And that is obviously a metaphor for life, right? Like it's like we can't get lost when we follow our internal GPS because it's there to guide us. And so one thing, to bring back that wild woman is to start cultivating a sense of trust in your own knowing, in your own self. And that is a journey, right? Like it's not something that you just wake up one day and go, yeah, I fully trust myself. Like there's been, betrayal, there's been sisterhood wounds, there's been the witch wounds, we've got past life wounds and traumas that we are still, playing out collectively and in this lifetime. And of course, we've got, traumas that we've experienced on this earth plane that we are still cultivating trust where we've had experienced mistrust. So to cultivate that sense of trust within yourself, you first, and that will require some shadow work. That will require, going in, looking at your inner child, looking at where you've been hurt, what's causing that mistrust, and what's stopping you from connecting in with your trust. And that's a journey. That's not a simple snap and the job's done. It's definitely a journey. So I would say cultivating self-trust is huge as a piece of awakening the wild woman, and then starting to really embody that. So the wild woman likes to, not only does she navigate the forest, but she runs in packs. So she looks for her tribe, and that's part of the process too. When you are surrounded by people, and this is by the way, applicable for men and for women. And I think it comes more naturally for women to call in their tribe. And the more men that I speak to, the more it's clear that they are much lonelier on their spiritual awakening journey. And they're looking for that brother. But it's been so toxic for them too, that they also don't know what that really looks like or feels like.
Right.
But for the woman, like calling in your soul tribe. So like, just from coming to my women's circles, like the power of that, right? Like, and the power of being around women. And that's essentially why I created the circles, because I used to go to them, and that supported me to awaken into my feminine when I was feeling lost and angry and like gripping onto control, and I had no place to surrender. The women's circles that I went to held me. They were there with non-judgment to hear me and to witness me and to see me and to birth me into a new version of who I got to be. And that's exactly why I run the women's circles. And this is about attracting your tribe. And this also comes with being able to express who you are. And we use the term express your truth, but most people don't know what their truth is. So it's really about like trusting that the voice that comes through is your voice, and that when you say the things you want to say, just checking in, like, am I saying this to please someone else? Is it because I'm saying it because that's what I think they want to hear? Or am I saying it because it really does feel like a heaven yes for me?
Right.
And again, that's like a piece that many, many people struggle with, right? To like express what they really want to say because they're scared of judgment and triggering and fear that people are going to, misunderstand them, or they'll upset somebody, or they'll piss somebody off, or, whatever it is. So again, when you start to, I found personally, like the more that I was able to speak from me and listen to what felt right for me to say, the more I attracted the right people in, because when they heard my words, they were like, oh, yeah, I relate to that too. And when I heard other people's, I was like, yes, she gets it. I want to be in her life. So, and the same for men. Like when I heard men speaking in the same way as me, I'm like, he's safe. I want to be around him because he gets it.
Right.
And so, part of calling in your pack and your tribe is connected to your expression, the self-expression. And so again, like awakening the wild woman is about cultivating a sense of trust in your self-expression.
Right.
Yeah, that's another piece.
That's cool. We teach that as well, about the trust. And simply it could be, one daily habit a day is how you're going to start to build that trust. And it could be making your bed, could be taking, a glass of lemon water when you wake up, or looking in the mirror in the morning and brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. So you're rebuilding the neurosynaptic connections, but just say the word trust. Someone had said this, I don't know if it was you or DJ Flourish, had said, when you're looking in the mirror, just say the word trust, because a lot of us, or, a lot of women and men cannot look in the mirror and say that they love themselves, right? It's just, there's that break in the subconscious where the subconscious is like, no, you don't. There's a lie there, right? And so we're not going to take that in as well, but we can look in our eyes and we can just say the word trust, or I am open to learning how to trust. Yeah. That is one step closer, depending on your past and where you are in the subconscious, to really feeling and stepping into that, to be able to trust yourself. And one thing, that I just noticed since I started meditating this year was the nervous system, and being able to calm the nervous system so that we can hear that intuition come through and those next steps of what we're to do, or am I to be with this person or this program, or do I go for coffee with this person? All of those things, you can actually listen to your body and it will tell you what's for you and what's not for you, just by calming and that trust, which is really important.
And actually that's you led on perfectly to the next thing that I would say with the awakening of the wild woman, as you just mentioned, is to listen to your body. And the thing is, like, we've been so conditioned to come from the mind, and the mind is just a beautiful tool to action what we feel in our body. But every trauma, and this is something I really explore through the breath work that I do, because it's an embodiment practice. It's a deep embodiment practice. And the beauty of something like breath work, and there are many other things you can do, and I'll refer to them in a minute, but the beauty of coming back into your body is that your body holds all of the wisdom codes. Like, your body holds all of the stored trauma, and not just the trauma, like also the pleasure. So like your body knows from the experiences what is being held. And the experiences that we feel in our body, again, don't necessarily come from this lifetime. They can come from previous lifetimes. They can be passed down through our ancestral lineage, through our DNA, through our birth trauma, depending on what was going on for our mother at the time of our birth. Again, something that I explore in the breath work, the rebirth. That's why it's called rebirthing, breath work, because we essentially are looking to rebirth you from the original birth that you had, and like rebirthing you into a new version of, you know, desiring life force, because and desiring to be you, like in all of your essence, because with the mind, like the mind can be a beautiful thing to action the things that we feel in our body, but it can, as you know, and as everyone knows, can come in with all of the chatter and all of the ego trying to keep you safe, you know, and the beating yourself up and the negative self-talk. But we always know it if like you said, through things like meditation, through breath work, where you're already coming just way out of your mind and way into your body. Ecstatic dance, or any kind of like dance that is purely you and the music, with no other substances to hinder or to cloud your connection to body. Meditation and any kind of movement essentially is really bringing you back into your body, and from that space, when you connect to your body, you are connecting back to your primal essence, because in your primal essence, like, you want to experience pleasure. It's just that we've been taught that pleasure is conditional.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So good. And what made you decide to study and to teach this? Like, kind of what's your vision and your passion?
Yeah. I mean, this is just the journey that I've been on myself. So, you know, for the last, I would say, you know, 2.5 years, especially. I mean, I could go way back, but I've always known that I was different. I always knew I didn't quite fit in. I remember at primary school having like my crazy curly hair, and like, I remember like there were moments that I so remember like not liking my wild, like suppressing my wild. Like, I really remember certain experiences, like when I was about 7 years old. I went to ballet classes. I hated ballet classes. Hated it. I'm dyslexic, so my coordination is awful. I'm much better now, but then I was like awful. And I wasn't someone that found it easy to shut up, as you can imagine. So like being in a ballet class where I had to like stand up very straight with my posture and do positions that my body simply found very difficult due to my dyspraxia. And then in exams, having curly hair, and they would spend ages trying to scrape my hair back into a bun, and they'd be like a hairspring. And I just used to remember thinking like, oh, I wish I looked like all the other girls. I wish I had blue eyes. I wish I had straight hair. I wish I was more like them. And I never embraced my uniqueness of like my cultural heritage and the way that I look. And like, I sound English, but I know I don't look particularly English. If we don't know, what does English look like? We're all a mixed bunch. But, you know, I always knew that I was different. And that's just like an example. But yeah, I just remember even like wanting to change my name to fit in. My name was so different. I was like, why no one can say my name? Why did my mom have to give me such a difficult name? Why can't I just be called something like Jessica? You know, and I always knew and felt very like, yeah, I always felt different, and I always thought differently to other people. And when I realized that I was so different, I dumbed it down. I dumbed it down because people made comments and people said things, and it wasn't comfortable. And I started to really dumb that down. And through that, I got myself into really, really difficult situations, you know, from the place of the wounded feminine who was just seeking love and validation outside of herself. I ended up in abusive relationships, in job situations where my bosses were silencing me all the time. And I could feel like my throat like coming up. I could feel it literally, like I couldn't speak the words I wanted to speak.
Right.
You wouldn't believe that now, but I've worked really hard on it. And I would have periods of time where I would just be numb. Like I couldn't use my voice. It was like so clammed up with trauma. And I really realized, like, I remember like a very significant moment where I was out and out. I think I've mentioned this story to you before. I was like an outdoor gig in Israel where I was living at the time, and the band was great. They were called the Yemen Blues. It was like full on, really good vibe. I was there with some friends, with my ex-partner, and I wanted to move, but my body would not move. Like I could not move my feet off the floor. It was the same frozen feeling as not being able to use my voice, like a numb.
Yeah.
I knew in that moment that I was like living in a state of frozen trauma response. And it was then that I really was like, okay, I need to get back into my body. I'm so disconnected from my body. I'm so disconnected from pleasure. I couldn't relax. I was like all the time, like micromanaging every minute of my life and everybody else's life around me. And I really couldn't let it go. I was so tightly wound in my own sense of frozen overwhelm.
Right.
I really was unable to surrender into the feminine. And it was from there that I realized I was living so deeply in my wounded masculine. And I started to explore that, and I started to awaken into my feminine. So I was going for breathwork sessions, and I loved it, and it was so transformative. I then went ahead and trained to be a breathworker. It was so transformative as a healing experience for me and my journey. I started to see a spiritual guide. I started to connect in with women's circles, with cacao ceremonies, with ecstatic dance, with retreats, the Red Tent retreat. And I was having more and more like connection to spirit and to awakening. But at that point, when I kind of was awakening into my feminine, what happened was I was so mistrusting of the energy that I'd been living in for so long, which was like this overdoing, overworking, overproductive, oversuccessful, overgiving, overqualified, over everything, that I was experiencing, burnout. And like from my abusive relationship, there were 3 things he used to say to me all the time: you're selfish, you're manipulative, you're a bitch. Like those were 3 key sentences that like stayed in my trauma. And the selfish thing like really got to me. And to prove that I wasn't selfish, I did so much volunteering and community service at this like stage in my life. I was like, I have to go. If I don't go, I'm like selfish. And like I always thought people thought I was selfish, like constantly. And so I gave. And from that place, I like completely burnt out so many times. And then I like rejected the whole thing because I thought that was the masculine, which it was, but it was the wounded aspect of it. And from there, I went like way into my feminine. I was like, right, that's it. I dissolve all responsibility. I clear my entire timetable. I no longer do any of these things that are not serving me, which sounds great, but it was unsafe because there was no one there to catch me. And I certainly didn't know how to catch me. And I leaned back so far, I couldn't get back up. I was literally like swimming in the sea without a paddle. And I was like, oh my God, my canoe's missing. My vessel's missing. What am I supposed to do? And it was really unsafe. And frankly, it was scary. I was scared. I was like, how am I ever going to get back into action? I was like, I never want to do anything responsible ever again in my entire life. And the journey has really been since then, honestly, for like 2 years now, I've been on this journey of this particular part of the journey has been to awaken into my divine feminine and leave behind the wounded aspect of both the masculine and the feminine space where in my wounded masculine, as I described to you, I was overgiving, overdoing, very resentful, very depleted, full of anger. I was very angry, especially at men, and really mistrusted them and mistrusted the masculine. And like, there was my evidence. Oh, I mistrust the masculine because look what it did to me. Right. And also like the physical masculine form relationship with my father, this abusive relationship, like bosses, etc., etc. And I was like, well, the feminine's not much better because she's just like leading me back so far, I can't get back up. So what do I do? And that was when I really started to go into the awakening feminine. But as I was awakening into my feminine, which has been my last year of my life, I still didn't trust the masculine. And the feminine can't be fully awoken unless she reveres and trusts and integrates the masculine. So that's the next piece of the journey, awakening and trusting the masculine and then integrating the two. And that's the work that I do. And I do that work because that's been my journey. And And it's not just been my journey. Like, it's been many, 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 many people's journey. And the more women I speak to, the more women are like, oh yeah, I recognize that really badly. So that's this work. Yeah.
Awesome. That's so great. You have a 3-day event, 2-day event coming up. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I do, yeah. I have a 3-day immersion called the Wild Womxn. It's starting next week on the 17th of May to the 19th of May. It's a 3-day free immersion in my Facebook group called the Divine School of Feminine Awakening, which you're in, which is beautiful. And yeah, really we'll dig a bit more into the wild woman, and we'll do some meditations, some embodiment practices to connect in with the wild woman and see where she wants to be awoken in you, because, you know, every woman is on a different awakening journey, and some people are at the very beginning just kind of going, what is all of this? And I don't know what's going on in my life, and why does nothing feel right anymore? And people are more advanced and like, well, I just want to expand and elevate myself, which is kind of where I'm at in my journey. But I was at the beginning. You know, we've all been on different stages of our journey. And so I hope this will speak to everyone, really, wherever you are on your journey. And it's really about cultivating, you know, your liberation. It's cultivating like the fact that it's okay for you to speak your truth without worrying about other people's expectations, for you to live life on your terms, to be who you want to be, or at least discover who it is that you get to be. And that you no longer have to live from that wounded inner, you know, little girl who's trying to please everyone to get love. So that's really what this is for. So I warmly invite you to come and join. Yeah, and also to join women's circles if you feel called. Like, come and join Christine and her wonderful mother June, who we love. And, all the other girls in the circle, it's like, we love June. Awesome. Powerful energy to the lineage there. And so yeah, we would love to see you in women's circle too. Next one, full moon, is on the 23rd of May, a couple of weeks.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Any last words you'd like to share today?
Yeah, I guess I just ask you, like, I know you've also been on your own journey and your own healing journey, and this is like why you created this amazing space as well for people to come and tap in. So for you, like, where are you on your wild woman journey or your awakening journey to the feminine?
Yeah, it is definitely a journey and an awakening. I have I've been learning a lot about childhood programming and things that had happened back then that I had totally pushed down, didn't have childhood memories, and that I've been, you know, clearing and healing. And really, this is a time and a space for everyone to clear and to heal whatever is holding us back. And how do you know if you're in a space of needing clearing? Is you're tired, your adrenals are shot, you feel burnt out, and almost like you're in the you know, a washing machine where you just feel like you're being pulled all over the place. Or for myself, like this year, I just felt like I was being pulled back. I was on a, you know, let's say a hill, and it was like something, you know, there were strings or ropes just yanking me back. And I'm like, wow, you know, I've been doing the work for a couple years, but there was more, a bigger piece of my worth and how it was tied to money and clients and, you know, all of that. So it's been breaking that from, you know, childhood, scarcity mindset, control. You know, we were controlled by someone else, or had our voice taken away by someone else, or a need that wasn't met when we were younger. And so through that, then we then felt it wasn't safe. And when we don't feel safe, then we begin to control. We might control other people, right? Recovering control addict, or we might control things in our, right, in our lives. So maybe you work out like a lot, or you have to have the furniture a certain way. That is a form of control. And if it's not just a set way, then you start to not feel good inside or lose control. Your adrenals are shot. Like, you need to take some good deep breaths and really come into that breath work and calm that nervous system down, because there's so many of us in fight, flight, and freeze. I've been in freeze, definitely, but had no idea until, you know, I started to do the work. And I'm really glad, you know, lots of tears, lots of dancing. That's been really helpful, you know, shaking, getting that energy out. any of the aches and pains within us is just simply stuck energy. It's stuck emotions that are saying, help me get out. And so Qigong is another thing that I found really helpful in that, because you just feel so good after, you know, your body's buzzing, and try and have a bad day once you've done, 20 minutes of Qigong, can't. You just feel too good. So yeah, it's been a journey, and just really grateful for people like you who've been opening my eyes to, the broader sense of stepping into our inner consciousness and spiritually, and trusting ourselves and a higher power, which, being raised very strict religions like Jehovah's Witness, and then I went to a Catholic high school and then married into a Baptist family. So much fear programming, so much fear. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to die, and you do not feel safe. And,
straight through my body when you said it. I was like, woo!
Yeah.
So much.
Like full on survival mode, and we're done with survival mode. Like, that shit's got to go, and we are just stepping into who we're really meant to be and what feels good to us, and who cares what other people think. It's, us moving forward. We're all a piece of the puzzle, in the world, and it's just simply, we need all of those who are ready to stand up and shine their light and help others, to do that right now. The time is, it's so important right now for us to really just step into who we are and who we're meant to be. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for being here and part of our community, and we'll see you on another circle for sure. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Always a pleasure to connect with you. I'm really glad we met. And I think this is just to go back to like the point I made before about, the more you speak what is resonant for you, like the more you call in the people that go, oh yeah, that's me too. Oh, she's in my tribe. And that's how we met, right? And it's the same.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, what I said, I moved back to the UK this year, and I didn't know anyone in this area, only my mum and my dad. And I kind of half knew somebody through an old friend from uni who I'm not even in touch with anymore. And I literally knew no one. And yet somehow the more I stepped into like, this is what I believe and this is what I'm saying, like the more I connected with people. And that's how I made my friends, because we have like a grid network of energy that is out there that you can't see, but it's like in your auric field, and you're just gonna like attract your auric field when the more you are authentically you, the more other people's authenticity also gets to rise, and that's how you connect with the right people. And those other people that are no longer in resonance with you, you literally will just find them like falling away. And like, I just to end on that note, like I think this year when I was awakening my feminine, I had so many people come in as like a test into my life that betrayed me essentially, and women too, like sisterhood wounds. And of course, because I'm talking about sacred sisterhood all the time, of course I'm going to get people to come in and show me like the betrayal of the sisterhood wound, because I'm like, well, that is not in resonance with me, they can leave.
Right.
For me, the test to be able to stand up to those women, and I did, and I said, like, this is not sacred, this is not holy, you have to leave my life, bye. And that was a test for me, because to stand up and actually say that is huge. Like, to be, and and it's the same with men. I had like men coming in my life for like 24 hours, 48 hours, and then it was like God just like came and plucked them and went, I don't think so. And it happened. And it's like, even with friends, like they've been plucked away, and it's okay, because they're not supposed to be there, that they're not resonating at the same like frequency as you anymore. But when they're removed, you have space for more. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, Kara's here. Thank you so much, Kara. And we'll pop the link in for your 3-day event so that people can join in. And yeah, awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.